First of all, listen, it's interesting about all these young guys today. They never call on us and say, hey, thanks for the kind word and tell me how great a player I am. But when they play like crap and we call them out, we don't know what we're talking about. Listen, I'm easy to find, but I get sick of these guys complaining. These young guys, they never call us and say, when a coach is wrong, I'm going to call him out. But when players are wrong, I'm going to call them out. But listen, I'm going to criticize guys that they deserve it. And listen, they can kiss my ass if they don't like it.
Yo, what's going on YouTube? Nathan back with another video presentation. Now that I apologize, this is a late stream. I know it's 2:30 in the morning where I am at. It is Sunday. For many, it's probably still Saturday. For some, if you're on the West Coast, it's Sunday here. Welcome to the final episode of season 4 of the podcast. As I stated in the intro / bonus, this was going to conclude season 4. This is my birthday weekend. Season 5 will start most likely Tuesday after Monday Night Football. You'll probably see a whole new intro and different things like that. So be patient with me as I work on that. Couple things we're going to talk about in this video tonight. Obviously, I got to recap. I got to give a preview for the Ravens and the Washington football team as they go up against the Steelers and the Las Vegas Raiders, respectively. I got to recap Thursday Night Football, the Saints versus the Cowboys, and that was kind of really lopsided. Got to make my picks for Week 13. Then we're going to get into the Washington Wizards' last 2 games, and we're going to also give a preview of the Raptors. We play the Raptors today. Things happen around the NBA. Major League Baseball is on strike. It is day 4. Maryland football, a couple things happened there. And obviously with Maryland basketball, but the men's, got to talk about what happened against Richmond. We play Northwestern today as well. And the women play, I believe, Rutgers. So, and then obviously we're going to finish it off with some Towson basketball as well. Some things around the WNBA that happened. I'm going to revisit the Candace Parker conversation. A couple things I wanted to reiterate, revisit that topic. So, without further ado, as I say, this is the final episode. I apologize if episodes 16, 17, 18, 19, and this is 21 have not, or 20, excuse me, has not gone up yet. Those episodes will go up as soon as possible, so please be patient with me. If you're enjoying the content and you want to see more like this, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Consider hitting that subscribe button, excuse me. Yes, so let's get into it. We play the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're 8-3, number 1 seed in the AFC, first place in the AFC North. Obviously, this is one of the best rivalries in the game. It's not what it was. It's not what it used to be a few years ago. Pittsburgh last year, they beat us twice at home and on the road. I think the final score at home was 28-24, and then we lost 19-14, but half the team came down with COVID. Robert Griffin III and Trace McSorley both started in that game when we played them Pittsburgh. But besides all that, we won the last 4 games. We won 3 out of those 4. I know, some people are saying we've just been flat out lucky. I thought the game, I said it, I reiterated for, in my personal opinion, I thought it was an ugly football game on both sides. Both teams played ugly football. Um, Lamar Jackson still getting off, the illness that he had that was not COVID related. Uh, the Steelers as well. I'm looking at them. They've lost now three straight, and particularly coming off an ass whooping, excuse my language, by the Cincinnati Bengals on the road. Um, and it was, again, they had a great Sunday night football game against the Chargers. That was a good game. Um, it just Cincinnati, Najee Harris only rushed for 23 yards. Joe Mixon, I think, ran for like 165. Big Ben threw, I think, threw three interceptions. Um, they don't look like the same Pittsburgh Steelers team. They just don't. And then found out earlier today that he talking privately for former teammates and some people through the organization that this is his last year. And I feel bad for him. I know, listen, he's not the same quarterback, Ben Roethlisberger. I know he's not the same quarterback. But this is what I'm talking about. I feel like I think he's finally kind of caved into what the media has said. And for me, I look at it like you go out on your own terms. Like, to let other people who haven't played a lick of football or who just chirp on TV because it gets views and all that, like, go out on your own terms. I feel like he's kind of caved into what people on TV have said. And I know he's not the same quarterback. I think he's a Hall of Famer in my book, but some of the things that he's done off the field, people are going to obviously bring that up. But let's not talk about that. Let's talk about this game where we're looking at the things I'm looking for. For the Ravens, the biggest thing is this is our one of 5 games that are on the road. We're now playing a divisional rival. This is the second divisional game. Okay. Then we got to turn around and play Cleveland next weekend on the road and in Cleveland. Okay. Now, Pittsburgh is home after those 2 road losses. Okay. Defensively, TJ Watt's back. But they have not been looking really sharp. And they're virtually offensively, Pittsburgh is just not producing. Now, I know they play Minnesota Thursday, so that should be interesting to see how a quick turnaround, particularly after those 2 games, then playing us and then Minnesota Thursday. Now, like I said, TJ Watt came off the COVID list, so he is eligible to play. Joe Hayden, I think, has a foot injury. He may not play. Lamar Jackson. If you look at the offense, it's starting to become. It's not pretty, but when it's effective, it's getting the job done. He's already, I think Lamar's I think it's 341 passes in these 11 games. I think the statistic I saw was that's 35 less than last year. But Pittsburgh, they saw what he could do last year. I get it. Last week he just was, in my personal opinion, I feel like he was rusty. He's coming off. He missed a good. He didn't. He was when you are sick, you have you have to learn stuff on the fly. So I just don't think he was ready. I know he's ready to play, but being back on the field, I think he tried. I think he tried to do too much, and the last time I saw that was 2019 when he threw 3 interceptions against Pittsburgh. Particularly on the defensive side, like J.J. Watt is like, I think he has like 12 and a half sacks on the year. I think that's second in the NFL, if I'm not mistaken. So, and then on top of that too, the offensive line, they have been, it's been just a complete mess, that offensive line. But again, I got an article coming out. Just a side note, I've been working on an article on Sports SB Nation. I did one on the Mystics. That actually got fronted. So shout out to Alan Lee for that. But I've been writing this article, and I stand by some of the things I've been saying in the article about this team, because we are covering up a multitude of sins. But that's besides the point. That's on a subject for another day. With Big Ben, I think that we don't know what to expect from him. We all know he's not the same quarterback. He's kind of looking like Joe Flacco out there with the checkdowns. He can't. It's like he as soon as he snaps the ball, it's like less than 3 seconds, he easily chucks it. I think like this season alone, and I found that I was reading that stat somewhere. Someone it was like it was like on Sport Muse or something like that, where he's only completed like 3 passes for over 50 yards. And going against a defense that's last, that's given up 276 yards per game, that can't happen. But we're the number 1 ranked rushing defense. But against the pass, that's just, I don't know what to say about that. But anywho, injuries still really, I think, play a big factor for this team. I know Calais Campbell still, I didn't get a feel like if he's going to play or not. Miles Boykin, I'm done with Miles Boykin. I'm sorry. I'm just done with him. I know Nick Boyle's coming off an injury. I know Nate McCreary, and I can't remember who else it was that were activated on the 53-man roster. I think the Ravens should win this game, but they're not going to go out. They're not going to go out without swinging. I do. Again, it's something about when you play a divisional rival, it gets the blood pumping, it gets the fuel firing, and I think the last time they played on my birthday, Joe Flacco hit Torrey Smith for the game-winning touchdown. The Baltimore Ravens will beat the Pittsburgh Steelers 34-17. Guaranteed. We're going to transition to the Washington football team as we play the Las Vegas Raiders. So, couple things. The Raiders, they're shorthanded at wide receiver. They cut Willie Snead, and then Henry Ruggs the third, obviously with the whole DUI thing. Deshaun Jackson's come in there and stepped up pretty well. He stepped in there because he adds speed to over the top. And Darren Waller's been hurt. Hunter Renfrow, he's been holding his own. But Wallace is not going to play because he's been dealing with a knee and hip injury. So, and then Deshaun Watson has a calf injury, so he may not play. He's questionable. Hunter Renfrow actually leads the Raiders in receptions, receiving yards, and touchdowns. When I look at their other wide receivers, I think with Brian Edwards, Zay Jones, they can definitely stretch the field. I do believe that. Derek Carr, you say what you want about him. Again, you got to trust your eyes. Shout out to the regular Ravens fan. He leads the league in passing. I think it's like 3,400 passing yards. I think he's an MVP candidate. I do. Now, particularly these last few games, Washington, our defense, secondary's been playing a lot better. Landon Collins, Cam Curl, Bobby McCain. And I know Collins is not going to play because of a foot injury, but I do believe that they'll hold the fort down for him. Now, Taylor Heineke. I know there is a census. He's, for right now, he is a short-term answer. I feel like going forward, let's take advantage of what we have with him now. The reason why I say that is because what I have seen him as a starter, even last year, with the situation that he was put into, I can't ignore. I understand the stretch that we had before we beat Mr. Dimple Chin and the Buccaneers, and Tom Brady, Mr. Dimple Chin and the Buccaneers. I get the rough stretch that we had, but I'm not going to ignore the others around offensively around Heineke. You know, the running game wasn't consistent. You just had Scary Terry pretty much being the go-to guy for Heineke. You know, we talked, De'Ami Brown, Curtis Samuel's been hurt. Logan Thomas has been hurt. We were saying, these injuries, we had some key guys offensively on the offense, it would make a difference. But when you don't have guys stepping up, what is Taylor supposed to do? I mean, he can only do but so much. And I just feel like these last 3 games, what I've seen is his decision-making, and really, honestly, truthfully, too, he's not forcing, like Lamar Jackson did against Cleveland. He's not trying to be overly aggressive. I'm seeing him, making the checkdowns. I'm seeing him, with great clock management, with, getting first downs and not letting the opponent get the ball. Same thing with Baltimore, did the same thing. Okay, Cleveland's not going to get the ball. We're going to take this all the way down. And it's been working. And you have to look, we have to give him that. Now, also too, let's also too give credit where it's due. Guys, these last 3 games, really, I would say for most part the whole season, I like the offensive line. It's really, they look like they've gelled pretty well. I still feel like offensively, Scott Turner has to mix the playbook up. I think he relies too hard on running the football, and he needs to really mix it up. Like, I think he really has to make the adjustments. If he does that, I think that's the key. Now, I know I already said Landon Collins is not playing. J.D. McKissick has a concussion. Wes Schrautzer, if I'm saying his name right, has an ankle injury. Eric Flowers has a foot injury. Taylor Larson, I think, has a knee injury. Curtis Samuel, groin injury. And then Ricky Seals Jr. is out with a hip injury. Hold on. I want to go back to the Ravens injury report as well. That came over the top of my head. But we're going to really have a conversation about Curtis Samuel because we gave him all that money and it's just not working so far. And then, like I said, Darren Waller's not playing. Carl Nesbitt's not playing. And I think it's Patrick or Warsaw. He's not playing either. Josh Jacobs and some other guys are not all questionable too. All battling ankle injuries, which is ironic. I was like, wow. But I think the Washington football team, I believe, will give the Oakland. I think we'll steal a win on the road. The Oakland Raiders are not going to go out without swinging either. I think the final score will be Washington 31, Oakland 24.
Guaranteed.
Really quick, I want to just go back for the Ravens injury report. So, Miles Boykin's out with a finger. Nick Boyle, he's questionable with a knee injury. Cedric Ogbehigh's out with a thigh injury. Marlon Humphrey, I saw him at the Wizards game the other night. Has an illness. He looked fine to me. Adafe Owe, shoulder injury, questionable. Chris West tries with a thigh injury. Tavion Young, illness. Anthony Everett's battling an ankle and shoulder injury. Jalen Ferguson's sick. Patrick McCarry has an ankle injury. Patrick Queen, I know he injured his ribs. Jimmy Smith most likely will not play with a neck. And Patrick McCarry with a foot and thigh injury. Like, these are like the little things. And these are key guys, too. It sucks. Hey, what's going on? What's going on? So let me transition to the most what was not as surprising at all. The Dallas Cowboys defeated the New Orleans Saints 27-17.
Congratulations! Oh my God.
Well, I'm still not I'm not sold on Dallas. They beat a team that doesn't have Alvin Kamara and Michael Thomas. It was pretty much the Taysom Hill show out there. I thought coming in this game, like you have a good chunk of your coaching staff out because they all tested positive for COVID. I understand that coming in this game, Dallas won 6 straight games. They're still at the top of the NFC East. The Saints, after beating Mr. Dimple Chin and the Buccaneers, I think they were 5-2. I wasn't surprised. Dallas's defense, I got to give their defense, I got to give respect where it's due. They just did not let New Orleans offensively breathe. Particularly when it came to, I just think there's no other. If you don't have Kamara or Michael Thomas, they're just stale offensively, and it really, really looked bad for the Saints. Like, Taysom Hill looked really good out there. I thought the game was over when he threw the interception to Trayvon Diggs. I really did. And this is now his 9th interception on the year. And then he threw 2 interceptions in that game. I think it was I can't remember what happened. It was a tip pass, something like that. I just think the Saints, they have no identity on offense. They really don't. Michael Parsons, I feel like, who should be Rookie of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year. The Saints had no answers offensively for Dallas. No answers. I mean, I could point to again, like, I'm looking at Taysom Hill's stats in my notes. 19 of 41 passes. Had a QBR of 44. And he didn't do a lot. And I know what the excuse was. Like I said, he didn't have Kamara. He didn't have Michael Thomas. There's just no other playmaker that can change the game for the Saints. And, they're going to have to really figure something out going forward. I still think the Saints can make the playoffs. I do. It just, they're going to have to figure out, they're going to have to build this team. I know we're in the transition phase, we're post Drew Brees era. But I like it didn't prove anything for me from the Dallas standpoint because again, look at their schedule. They really, like I said, they had an opportunity to prove to me against the Chiefs. I'll say Oakland and possibly Philly, but that was the beginning of the year. But they're just beating up on weak teams. Like, if I want to see that against teams like Green Bay, Tampa. Well, no, Dallas did have some fight against Tampa. I'll take it back. I kind of was looking for this from last year, but that's neither here nor there. So that's what happened Thursday night. It was just really a one-sided football game. I think Dallas. Let me look at their schedule. I think they play the divisional rivals in Washington on the 12th. Okay, and New Orleans. I believe they play. I want to say it's a divisional rival too. No, they play the Jets. They should beat the Jets. They should. The Saints should. So let's get into Week 13 picks. We got the Indianapolis Colts versus the Houston Texans. The Indianapolis Colts will trounce the Houston Texans 41-3. Guaranteed. Now, I will say this. Now, the Texans, they still actually surprised the world when they beat the Tennessee Titans. Still trying to muster that. And they got to win. They played the Jets too. But I think there's going to be the Colts are going to look to take their frustrations out on the Texans after losing to the Buccaneers. It was a really good game, though. The Minnesota Vikings versus the Detroit Lions. Dalvin Cook, don't expect him. He's not playing. The Minnesota Vikings will beat the Detroit Lions 36-21. Guaranteed. I don't know what you really want to call this matchup, the New York Giants versus the Miami Dolphins. For all intended purposes, the Miami Dolphins should win this game. Daniel Jones is not playing because he did not. I don't think he's on the COVID reserve list. The Miami Dolphins, I'm looking on the lines of 27-17. Guaranteed. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Atlanta Falcons. Now, I will say this. Shout out to Sean Spencer, Dylan Walsh, Nick Rosario. I was on the last Sunday. I said Cordero Patterson would rush for 2 touchdowns. And I said he would rush for over 200 against the Jacksonville Jaguars. He was 107 yards. But he had 2 touchdowns. I do think Cordell Patterson, who has been a real cheat code in the fantasy football, I do think he will rush. I think he will have a couple touchdowns. But I do think that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will annihilate the Buccaneers. It's going to be like something like 35-14. Guaranteed. The Philadelphia Eagles versus the New York Jets. After that choke job by the Eagles, Jalen Hurts is questionable. I just got a really quick question for if any Eagle fan can ask me this question. Did Miles Sanders offend somebody? Like why is Miles Sanders not getting opportunities? Like why is he not getting, like, you got Howard and Boston Scott getting more touches than him? Did he say something? Did he rub someone in the organization the wrong way? Like, Miles Sanders is a good little running back. I'm trying to figure out what the problem is. If someone can answer that question for me, that's greatly appreciated. So I'm hoping that, because they're not going to play because of injuries. So he should get some touches on the ball, but I don't understand. He's a really talented running back, and he's not getting the opportunities I think he should be getting. But the Philadelphia Eagles will beat the New York Jets 21-14. Guaranteed. The Arizona Cardinals versus the Chicago Bears. Kyler Murray should be back in action. I think DeAndre Hopkins is still questionable. I think the Arizona Cardinals are going to beat the Chicago Bears 28-17. That's a good score. Guaranteed. Justin Herbert versus Joe Burrow. The Chargers versus the Bengals. The Bengals are coming off that annihilating win against Pittsburgh. The Chargers are kind of starting to put it together a little bit. They coming off, I believe they just actually came off against, let me see who they played. They played the Broncos and they lost. They lost that game 28-13. I'm looking for this one to be like Pittsburgh, a high-scoring game. 31-28. Hey, Lucinda, good to see you. 31-28 Chargers. Guaranteed. The Los Angeles Rams should beat the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's going to be like 41-0. Guaranteed. It should, like the Los Angeles Rams as defensively too. This is a game where they should get it together. There's no way they should go, and they're at home too. Like, I'm just saying. The San Francisco 49ers are playing Russell Wilson and the Seahawks. It's a home game for Russell Wilson and the crew. I've said it for the record. I just don't think this is the same Seahawks team. I think Russell's out. I really do. They just, I don't know. I got to pick my pride off the floor when, after they got that trade, when the Rams made the trade to get Matthew Stafford, I was like, did the Seattle Seahawks die? And now looking at it now, they're last place in their division. Injuries, Russell Wilson again went again, and great example again. We can make the same argument in terms of help, and I just don't think the Seahawks are going to give it to him. You got to you're going to have to get this man some help, or he's going to have to leave. Plain and simple. But shout out to Lucinda Baxter. She already gave the answer. The 49ers will beat the Seattle Seahawks. It's going to be like 30-21.
Guaranteed.
It's going to be something like that. I feel bad for Russell Wilson. When I like just real quick, when I talk about help for Lamar Jackson, look at for Russell Wilson, and then you'll see what I'm talking about. And then the Broncos versus the Chiefs. For all intended purposes, Kansas City should win this game. I know Melvin Gordon's out, so Javonte Williams will get some looks. Denver's defense is not too bad, actually. They got some guys that can play on the other side. 27-17 Chiefs.
Guaranteed.
And then obviously, Monday Night Football, we got the New England Patriots versus the Buffalo Wild Wings, Bills. I'm sorry, the Buffalo Bills. This should be interesting. I really definitely think this is a must. This is a big win. This is a key game for the Bills. I know Tre'Davious White is out. I know we said that the Bills were the best team in the AFC, particularly the East. And you got a rookie quarterback who's been an instrumental part, and that team now in first place in the AFC East. But I might sound crazy for this, but I think you're going to have your second tie of the NFL season, 28-28.
Guaranteed.
I just don't think. I just see a tie with this game until the Bills win a Super Bowl. Chris Rock. That's a good one. So yeah, I'm sticking with that one. So that's week 13 of the season. Week 13, we got 5 more weeks. We're kind of moving right along as the season progresses. Some things around the NFL. So I talked about it earlier. Big Ben. This is saying that he expected this to be his last year. I feel bad for him in a way because I think the media has played a part in that decision. Antonio Brown has been suspended for 3 games for violating COVID protocols for giving fake vaccine misinformation with the card. What else has happened? The injuries. The injury bug has been really something. It has to be talked about. I cannot stress that enough. These guys, we're going to have to figure something out because we got 5 more weeks left of football, and we're now I'm looking at the playoffs, and these guys, they're going to have to really come up with some type of plan. I just don't think playing. I just think having an extra game. I just don't think it's. I think you're just going to see more injuries like this, unless you change up the. I don't know the way off season is and different things like that. What do you suggest? Suggest about the injuries or? I just think they're going to have to get some rest. You know, I understand that the networks have lost money and they're trying to recoup money. It just guys are going to have they like, for example, I think the way some of the training is, I mean, like football. When you play a sport, it takes a toll on your body after a certain period of time. And I'm looking at all these injuries around the league. Like Christian McCaffrey, he's out again, and Derrick Henry. Like one injury to a key player makes a big difference. And like look at Baltimore, for example. It's funny when it was on Twitter, it showed their practice field. That practice field looked dry. And I kind of can see how some of those guys may have gotten hurt. I'm not going to say like it's intentionally like that, but they're going to have to figure out how to come up with some type of plan when it comes to resting guys, particularly if I know my team is at that point where we made the playoffs. I don't think you should be playing the last two games. I just don't think having that extra game, I just think it's just because you're playing 18 games and then turn around going to playoffs and you're already injured, you're already down injuries. That's going to show. Especially because and we all know in the playoffs the game slows down. And I just don't like these injuries. I really don't. Also, too, with Antonio Brown, it was Mike Edwards and John Franklin. They're also suspended for COVID-19 violations. Also, too, let's see what else is going on in the NFL. Taysom Williams might need surgery on his finger. Jonathan Taylor, Justin Jefferson were both players of the month. Congratulations. Kenny Vaccaro is retiring from the league after 8 years. Vaccaro played for the Titans. He wants to start his own E-League sports organization. So congratulations to him. Wish him all best endeavors for the future. Joe Mixon and Leonard Fournette were both players of the week. Congratulations. I'm sorry, not Daniel Jones is out with a neck injury, not COVID-related. I apologize. That's pretty much what's been going on around the NFL as far as news. So let's transition into a little basketball conversation talk with the Washington Wizards. The Washington Wizards' last couple games, we beat the Minnesota Timberwolves. It's ironic. My score, if you look back at the episode, was close. We beat the Timberwolves 115-107. I think it said like 118, something like that. I can't remember. I was actually almost right there. Observations from that game. Minnesota, particularly in the second and third quarters, actually led the game. I was surprised. I think, once again, offensively, Washington were very stale. I just keep pointing to the three-point shooting. I just don't know what it is. Maybe we're just. I think we rely on it too heavily, or that's the first instinct. Like we were 2 of 11 from three. In the fourth quarter, we got things going. Like for 5 minutes, Minnesota didn't get a bucket. And it was like 110, 103, I think it was. And again, I'm looking at Martrez Harrell. I think he had 27 points in that game. Then you Gafford had 18. Had double-double as well. Bradley Beal had 18 and 9. Bertans also, too, I think, who's been playing better. He had 15. Karl Anthony Towns had a double-double, but he got injured. He had I think it was a trunk contusion. I want to say it was. But I don't know. And then we played the Cavs. We lost. That final score was 116-101. Both sides of the floor, we looked bad. we lost by 15. That's the most so far this season. We played Toronto in the third of last month. It was a 9-point loss. So we're now 8-3 at home. Again, I just think it really just starts with the defense. Jared Allen had 14 points. And they're off dunks and layups. Like we weren't switching. We were slow to switch off the perimeter. All guys that can shoot in the perimeter. I don't understand that. Like, particularly on the pick and roll, nobody's stepping up on the screen. Nobody's switching on defense. Like, and then offensively, we did absolutely nothing. It was like from the second quarter, it was like 3-something to like 8, almost like 9 minutes, like 8 minutes left in the third quarter. Didn't score anything. Like the Cavaliers, I think, scored like 20 straight points in that stretch. And then we came back, and then it was like a 27-2 run. Like, Darius Garland had 32, and Jared Allen had 28. And like, I will say is we did actually, Evan Mobley, we kept him in check. He only had 6 points in that game. Daniel Gafford and Harrell, I definitely think it was just an off night for them both. I really do. I think a lot of it just had no answer for Jared Allen. Again, when I point to the first, he had 14 points in the first quarter. That says a lot, in my personal opinion. And that brings me to my next point. We play the Raptors, another birthday present. So we're back against the Raptors. We go to Toronto, and we beat them. It was 98-83, and then they came here and beat us by 9. We're actually away from home. We're 3-8, and then we had lost like 5 straight until we beat the Bucks. No, I'm sorry. I'm not thinking about the was it the Raptors. I'm sorry. They're 3-8 at home because they beat the Bucks Thursday. Yes, okay, the Raptors. I apologize. I'm sorry. I had that backwards. I was trying to think of games I tried to catch, and I don't know why I was thinking of the Wizards. I apologize. Now, we're coming off a 15-point loss against the Cavs, like I talked about. The Raptors don't have OG Onawabi. He's out with an injury. And then so you have someone named Kim Birch. He's out. Gary Trent is coming off a knee injury. He had 8 points in that game. I checked the box score before I came on here. I don't know what to expect. I really don't. There's got to be some consistency. I think it starts defensively with Washington, but they got to hit shots. When I point to that 27-2 run Cleveland had, like that pick and roll they had on us, I just feel like something that has to be addressed. I know Wes Unseld said in the post game, same thing. Like I said, we got to make shots, and that when you don't make shots, that takes away the defensive focus mindset, and they've got to fix that. Somebody has to step up for the Wizards. I think the Wizards can win this game. I do. But again, it's going to have to come with guys making some shots, communicating on defense, and I think, again, defensive mind first. And let's get the easy buckets. I mean, if we can't get threes knocked down, let's mix it up. Let's off pick and roll, post, floppies, something, instead of us always relying on the three. But I know if we live by the three, we die by the three. But I think Bradley Beal will be the leading scorer. I think the Wizards will beat the Raptors 103-90.
Guaranteed.
Let's transition to things around the NBA. So LeBron James was cleared to play. He was not very happy about the handling of his COVID test. It was a false positive, which sucks. I wish they would still work on. They still need to work on that. The Phoenix Suns winning streak was snapped by Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors.
Relationship with your
Oh
children.
my God.
Something told me after Tuesday that streak was going to be snapped, and there was no way that was going to live. Kevin Durant surpassed Ray Allen, now 24th on the all-time scoring. I think it's three-pointing list. If I'm not mistaken. I want to say that right. No, sorry, all-time list. Excuse me. He's now 24th. I'm not sure if y'all saw the Memphis Grizzlies lose by beat the Oklahoma City Thunder by 73.
How do you do that? How do you do that? What the hell is going on?
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
I'm not going to even sit here and act like I didn't know this was coming. Or act like I know this was coming because I did it.
73 points. That's an NBA record. I don't know how to really feel about that. I know that the Oklahoma City Thunder are a young team. I get it. But to lose by 73 points, that's embarrassing. It's fun fact. The last time that happened was back in 1991, where the Cleveland Cavaliers beat the Miami Heat by 68. The Memphis Grizzlies scored 152 points. 152. And John Morant did not play. He was injured. I don't know what the mood was like in that locker room or practice the next day, but I ain't gonna lie. There would have been some furniture moving. At that point, if we're down 50, it's gonna be some flagrant fouls. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna go out like that, losing by 70 more points. That's just that can't happen. That was pretty bad. Y'all let me know how y'all feel about that. The Portland Trail Blazers fired their GM, Neil Olshey, for after the investigation of alleged toxic workplace and different things like that. I know I heard Tayshaun Prince and Brent Berry's names were named. Scott Perry, Mark Eversley, something like that as well. They're looking at potential candidates as a replacement. Mark Cuban, he bought a small town in Texas, which was really nice. I know Jason Kidd. I was reading an article, I think it was on ESPN, where he's asking Luka to stop looking for fouls on every play. Because, you got to earn those calls. Same thing with Julius Randle against the Nets. You got to earn those calls. You do. You can't get every call all the time. But how it is in the NBA, Kyrie Irving, I was reading articles in Sports Illustrated. It was a rumor. I don't believe it's true. You know how rumors are started. It's just to get people's eyebrows raised up. But it was saying that Kyrie Irving won't play unless he's traded. I find that hard to believe. I don't think Kyrie would pull that kind of stunt. Like he got Kevin Durant and James Harden to play in Brooklyn and then turn around and say, I want out. That's just weird to me. Yeah, that's what's going on around the NBA. Other than that, this thing was the 73-point loss. And then also to Kemba Walker, still they're going forward with Alex Burke. It's not nothing. It's not. You got to look at it from this standpoint. Tom Thibodeau is a defensive first-minded coach. Kemba Walker is an offensive first guard. So I think it just wasn't. It just wasn't going to work. It wasn't. Moving into baseball, we're on strike. The owners locked us out. Just a fun fact, I did the same thing what the players did. I took my picture off my social media except YouTube and put like the silhouette of a blank player on a couple of things. I thought it'd be funny. But no, seriously, the owners, the meeting before on the 30th of November, only lasted 7 minutes. These owners know what they're doing. Have not seen this. Last time it happened 27 years ago. When I worked 27 years ago, I was born. The 1994-1995 strike season. Excuse me. I did some research. I wanted to look back and see some other things around baseball that did around with this, and a couple of things happened. So, the same kind of thing. They didn't know that we had the 1972 strike. There was a first player strike in the league at the time. Basically, what I was talking about increases of pay, particularly arbitration. That was interesting. 1973 lockout. Just a new CBA. So the owners locked out. 1976. This was particularly with the Kurt Flood situation about free agency and different things like that. The example was Dave McNally. I wrote this down, and Andy Mercer Smith, if I'm saying his name right. Pretty much where a team, they can have a clause in their contract where, if I'm not mistaken, if they don't want to be traded to a certain team, they can invoke their clause. Kurt Flood, we all know he was basically the decision about being a free agent because he played for the Reds. That decision both made them, McNally and Mercer Smith, free agents. And ironically, that season too didn't have a CBA. Then another, more about this too, 1980 lockout, excuse me, same thing. Agreeing over a new CBA. 1981, same thing. How free agency, how if a team loses a player, different things like that. 1985, same thing. Kind of, salary. The owners wanted a salary cap. 1990, same thing. Pretty much, owners, when it comes to arbitration, a guy getting only this amount of money for a certain period of time. 1994, 1995, which area where that's infamous. That lasted well over 200-something days. All the ones before then, didn't last that long. This was the one that long the most. The owners wanted a salary cap. Players said no. Pretty much the owners had to just give in and pretty much, okay, well, it's fine. We just had to deal with it. Because also, too, what Bud Selig did and the owners, those that did not were on strike, they got replaced with guys that were just replacement players. And then obviously, as of December 2nd, excuse me, the same exact thing. The owners, they want a salary cap. And their CBA also expired. Now, Mr. Bud Selig wrote a letter to us fans. Here's the letter. It's on MLB.com. To our fans, I first want to thank you for your continued support of the great game of baseball. This past season, we were reminded of how the national pastime can bring us together and restore our hope despite the difficult challenges of a global pandemic. As we began to emerge from one of the darkest periods in our history, our ballparks were filled with fans and the games were filled with excitement. And millions of families felt the joy of watching baseball together. That's why I am so disappointed about the situation in which our game finds itself today. Despite the league's best efforts to make a deal with the Players Association, we were unable to extend our 26-year-long history of labor peace and come to an agreement with the MLB Players Association before the current CBA expired. Therefore, we have been forced to commence a lockout of Major League players effectively 12:01 Eastern Standard Time, which is like 9:01 West. I think Central's like 6. It gets with certain times. You got Central. I think it's like 6, something like that on December 2nd. But back to the letter. I want to explain to you how we got here and why we have to take this action today. Simply put, we believe that an off-season lockout is the best mechanism to protect the 22 season. We hope the lockout will jumpstart the negotiations to get us to an agreement that will allow the season to start on time. This defensive lockout was necessary because the Players Association vision for Major League Baseball would threaten the ability of most teams to be competitive. It's simply not a viable option. From the beginning, the Players Association has been unwilling to move from their starting position, compromise, or collaborate on solutions. When we began negotiations over a new agreement, the Players Association already had a contract that they would not trade for any others in sports. Baseball players have no salary cap and are not subject to a maximum length or dollar amount on their contracts. In fact, only MLB has guaranteed contracts that run 10 or more years and excess of $300 million. We have not proposed anything that would change these fundamentals. We have heard repeatedly that free agency is broken. In the month of November, $1.7 billion was committed to the free agents, smashing the prior record by nearly 4 times. By the end of the offseason, clubs will have committed more money to players than in any MLB history. We have worked hard to find compromise while making the system even better for the players by addressing concerns raised by the players' associations. We even offered to establish minimum payroll for all clubs to meet for the first time in baseball history to allow the majority of free agents to reach free agency earlier through an age-based system that would eliminate any claims of service time manipulation, and to increase compensation for all young players, including increases to the minimum salary. When these negotiations lacked momentum, we tried to create some by offering to accept the universal designated hitter, to create a new draft system using a lottery similar to other leagues, and to increase the competitive balance tax threshold that only affects a small number of teams. While we've had challenges before with respect to making labor agreements and have overcome these challenges every single time during my tenure, regrettably, it appears that the Players Association came to the bargaining table with a strategy of confrontation over compromise. They never wavered from collectively from the most extreme set of proposals in their history, including significant cuts to the revenue sharing system, a weakening of the competitive balance tax, and a shortening of the period of time that the players play for their teams. All of these would have made our games less competitive, not more. To be clear, this is not hard. This hard but important step, does not necessarily mean the games will be canceled. In fact, we are taking this step now because it accelerates the urgency for an agreement as much as a runaway as possible to avoid doing damage to the 2022 season. Delaying this process further would not only put spring training, opening day, and the rest of the season further at risk. We cannot allow an expired agreement to again cause an in-season strike in a missed World Series like we experienced in 1994. We owe all you, our fans, better than that. Today is a difficult day for baseball, but I have said it all year. There is a path to a fair agreement, and we will find it. I do not doubt the league and the players share a fundamental appreciation for this game and commitment to its fans. I remain optimistic that both sides will seize the opportunity to work together to grow, protect, and strengthen the game we love. MLB is ready to work around the clock to meet that goal. I urge the Players Association to join us at the table. Signed, Robert D. Mansford, Jr., Commissioner of Baseball. That was on MLB.com. It's like reading a speech. Listen, I'm not taking a shot at him, but obviously, I had some other stuff I want to talk about, but this was kind of more of this what stands out. The owners simply want they offered a reduction of the games from 162 to 154, a universal DH, which the players have asked for. But a lot of it also, too, they want the status quo. The owners want what happened from 2017 to 2021. They want to keep the same thing in check. Now, the players, they're just looking at it like this. They want free agency to be anyone that's 29 and a half. I think the age is 29 and a half. And if they've had 5 years or 6, they can become free agents. Now, they're also to the union, they kind of used us as an example, tanking, because we've benefited from the league sharing, and they don't like that. Now, to be fair, some of that's also blamed on the players. Let's if we're gonna because I'm gonna call it like it is. The Orioles are not a good team. When your team's not winning, yes, you're going to have the first pick in the draft. Why? But it's not like the Orioles had they have players that know their role. They're not a good team. Where they said, because I had to look at it. We only have $42 million on the payroll, and that's $100 million less than the other 14 teams in the league. The players want to see it stopped, which I think it's fair. But so if a team like the Orioles, if they suck, so in other words, you're pretty much saying they don't want to see a team like the Orioles pretty much take advantage of getting all these good players, and they're not. And they're only not doing X, Y, and Z. The Orioles are building something for the future. Again, I think a lot of it also too these players pick and choose where they want to go. Like, look at these contracts. Like, nobody sat there and said for a period of time when the San Diego Padres, before Manny Machado, before Fernando Tatis Jr., look at what they did. They got the Upton brothers, James Shields, Matt Kemp. They had like a little all-star team out there. Look at the fact that Colorado gave Nolan Arenado an 8-year contract and then turned around, traded him. Not only trade him, but they paid the Cardinals $50 million and didn't get anything off that deal. They got the shorter end of the stick. Excuse me. Now, I do agree that the tanking does have to be fixed. But I also too think it needs to be this needs to be addressed. I think you need to consider other options. I think if you don't like the tanking, I think it needs to be something implemented. You need to have a tour of all 32 of all the teams in Major League Baseball. Don't just go, I'm going to take my talents to Los Angeles, or I'm going to take my talents to New York. If you don't like the tanking, well, come up with some solutions. Well, how do I make the team better? What can you do to make the Orioles better? Why don't you consider playing for the Orioles then? I think that's fair. Like, tanking, yes, it's not a good look for the league, but if you look at it, look at the Houston Astros. The Houston Astros were the worst team before the rise of Altuve, Springer, Bregman. They were one of the worst teams in Major League Baseball. See, it's easy for teams that are winning to say that. But when your team stinks, you're not saying that because why? Because you're trying to get the best players and you're trying to build something for the future. Now, I do also too think the small market teams, the Minnesota Twins, Kansas City Royals are a great example. They hurt the most because your competitive those windows for that team, the window to compete is short, 3 to 5 years easily. Now, pretty much also too the playoff expansion. The players don't want to see that happen because to me it just basically both sides are not going to budge. The owners know what they want. I think you should have a salary cap because, I think you should have a salary cap only because from the standpoint of this. When I look at a team like the Anaheim Angels, they gave Albert Pujols a 10-year deal. They've made the playoffs one time. They cut Albert Pujols and they still have to pay him $30 million. The Baltimore Orioles have to pay Chris Davis $17 million because now he's retired. These mega contracts, I don't like them. I really don't. The San Diego Padres are going to find that out. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Tampa Bay Rays are going to find that out. The New York Yankees might find that out with Garrett Cole. You already kind of seen what the Colorado Rockies did with Nolan Arenado. I think the Cardinals, in my personal opinion, Arenado takes that team as far as he can take it. Now, I definitely do think what hurts is you've got to I understand if you want to go to certain teams, but I think that's not fair when you're trying to build super teams and it's like, man, it's just no competitiveness. Like tanking, like for example, but see, I want to go back to the tanking because when they used us, I was really kind of like, oh wow, okay. You can think of the Orioles because the Orioles, there's just nothing to build off on. So, yes, we've gotten Adley Rutchinson. We've gotten some decent picks. And it's not like we were the number one overall pick for the last 5-6 years. We've had guys that like Dylan Bunny's not with us anymore. Kevin Gossman's not with us anymore. Machado's gone. Like, tanking does have its benefits, and what I see what the Orioles are doing, they're building for the future, because at some point, what's going to happen? You're going to have to pay these guys at some point. So it's a double-edged sword. Now, but that being said, I don't know what I don't know what they mean by paying. They want to see that incentive stop and paying them a fair wage. I don't know what that means. And so, in other words, like they pay them a certain amount of money. What's the amount? Like, pretty much also too, they're saying after 5 years, I don't want to play for your team. So, question. If Javier Baez, great example, and this is not a slight on him. So if Javier Baez, right, he just signed with the Tigers. Let's say the next 3 years, hypothetically speaking, okay? The Tigers, they're there, but don't make the playoffs. Now, I just paid him a hefty contract, and he wants out. Now, scratch that. Javier Baez. No. Juan Soto, I'm sorry, for the Nationals. Because I believe Juan Soto for the Nationals is a fundamental piece to build a championship team in Washington. They just traded Max Scherzer and Trey Turner. They're in kind of rebuild mode, right? Juan Soto's made it kind of clear he wants to be on a winning team. So what do I get as a team if I lose my best player? What am I going to get out of that? I got to go and call Ghostbusters? Like, if my best player after 5 years goes, I don't want to play for your team, what do I get in return as the team? Like, that's a question that needs to be asked. I definitely do think that, again, I just think a salary cap is important. I think you need to have that, because these contracts, I really think they hurt teams in the long run. Like, I just don't like it. And you're going to see it. We could disagree on that, but I don't think, I just think it's not looking good. I really don't. I know, even though particularly with the offseason, Buck Showalter, Joe Esparza are candidates for the Mets. Freddie Galvez is going to play in Japan. Hunter Renfroe got traded in Milwaukee to the Milwaukee Brewers for Jackie Bradley Jr. So Jackie Bradley Jr. is going back to the Red Sox after being traded. I don't like it. I just feel like this is going to go on for a while, because both sides, they're not going to budge. And I definitely do think they're going to have to give up something. But ladies and gentlemen, it all comes down to this. The dollar bills. It's all about money. That's what it is. And, the fact that you gotta sacrifice something. And I know throughout history of sports, I think hockey's had the longest strikeout. I think it was like well over 300 days. So I don't think you'll see that, but I hope that these players know what they're doing. I hope that it's politically organized, if you know what I'm saying with that. Same thing with the owners. But there has to be some kind of compromise. It's got to come together. I definitely think both sides are going to give up something. But I don't think this is going to go anywhere anytime soon. I definitely think probably by spring training, some things you'll probably see some type of progress. But I have some questions for the players and owners too. But I have a lot of questions for the players, Because I would like to see balance of free agency going to considering other teams instead of trying to make super teams. I'm going to go to this team because of the market and not thinking about, well, if I played for a team like the Minnesota Twins, for example, or a team like maybe like the Kansas City Royals, I could do some things instead of being on a team like the New York Yankees, where if we just get on the wild card, that's not good enough for me. But we'll continue to follow it. Let's transition into NCAA football, Maryland football. Shout out to Anthony Handy. I was on his Zach Niff Productions show. Georgia lost to that school in Tuscaloosa tonight.
Oh my God.
Congratulations, Nick Saban. That's all I'm going to say. 12 boys from 12 Maryland Terrapins received Big Ten honors. Congratulations. Defense. I'm name dropping this. Amid Fenu, Jakari and Bennett, they got honorable mentions. Jordan Mosley and Nick Cross, honorable mentions. Rakeem Jarrett, Chagozim Okonwo, Talia Tongavaloa. He also got honorable mentions. Spencer Anderson, Dante Demaris Jr., Jalen Duncan got honorable mentions. The last time that's happened was like 2008, if I remember seeing that correctly. Anthony Procolia is like, he's going to get the Sportsman of War honoree. Congratulations to those guys. We're going to find out who we're playing in a bowl game after beating Rutgers. So we found it actually out today. So crossing fingers. Got to transition into Maryland basketball. Start with the men. We beat Richmond. We beat the Richmond Spiders 86-80. Again, I told you the biggest thing was Hakeem Hart, Eric Ayala. They gotta score. Offensively, we've just been struggling. Fats Russell had 15. You had Kadarius Wahid. He had 13. Ayala had 20. Hakeem had 19. The biggest thing was the shooting. Also, the biggest thing I took away from that game was the free throws. We shot 20 out of 25 free throws in that game. We've won 27 and 25 against Richmond. We won the last 10 straight games. Again, the shooting has just been the what stood out to me so far this season. So I think that was a much needed win. We go 5-1 on the year. And then to top that off, Mark Tuergeon. I don't know how to feel about this one. Parted ways with the University of Maryland.
Relationship with your
Oh
children.
my God.
I don't like it. I think, obviously, I have a lot of questions. He just signed an extension. Okay. His style of coaching, particularly after the first 5-6 years, it was starting to get really, really stale. There would be stretches, y'all, where Maryland offensively won't score, and there's no adjustments on that. Now, I find it weird that you're parting ways with us in the midst of playing our Big Ten and ACC competition. I know he's going to get a $5 million buyout, But I can't ignore what he's done for the program, for the school. You know, we finished 3 times in the top 25. We were number 12 twice. We were like number 2. We were number 2 in 2016, 2015, 2016, and then we were number 3 2019. Like, it just is weird to me. I just think that the expectations, I don't think he exceeded basketball expectations at Maryland. I really don't think he did. Quote, this is what he said. Maryland basketball has been my passion and focus for the last 10 years, and I am extremely proud of what we have accomplished. It's through the combined effort and commitment from our coaches and players, both past and present. We have sustained consistent success in a sport that's ultra competitive. I am extremely grateful to have worked with each and every one of you. It has been truly an honor to be in the men's basketball coach at the University of Maryland. We got him in 2011, after the great Gary Williams stepped down. He was at Texas A&M and Wichita State. He's won 226 games with us as a head coach. We got in the tournament 5 times. Just for the record, had the pandemic not happened, I believe the University of Maryland would have gotten the Big Ten championship.
Guaranteed.
I don't like the fact that he's doing this now. It would make more sense if he did it after the season, because now you're throwing Danny Manning into the fire. He's going to be the interim coach for the rest of the season. I definitely think Maryland is, in my opinion, they are a school where you can get some guys looking and going, I can coach at Maryland. I can. Like, I'm thinking maybe like a Kim English. The guy at Providence. I think his name's Ed Cooley. Danny Manning probably will get the nod. I would even go as far as saying Bruce, maybe we get Bruce Pearl out of Auburn. I doubt that would ever happen. But there's some local guys. Seton Hall is a good that comes to mind. George Mason. I already said Ken English. He's at George Mason. Sean Miller's another one that comes to mind. There are some coaches I think that Maryland's going to look at, and I think the athletic director is definitely going to do that. But I don't like the fact, because we're playing Northwestern. And the fact that we not only lost to the Hokies in the Big Ten ACC Challenge, James Graham III is no longer into the transfer portal Friday. And then, obviously, Mark Tuergeon parted ways with the school. We're now 5-3. Our first Big Ten opponent is Northwestern. They're 5-2 in the year. Biggest things. I've looked at some of their games. I looked at their stats. The Wildcats, they average 80 points a game, and they're shooting like 46% from the field, which is like top 5 in the conference. They beat opponents by like 17 points a game. However, they were playing weak teams. Obviously, Providence, they played Providence and Wake Forest. Both games I looked, they were decided by 9 points respectively for both teams. I don't know what Maryland's going to look like I don't know what they're going to look like after that with Mark Tuergeon leaving. I definitely think, again, just from looking at Eric Ayala and Dante Scott, because Eric Ayala's a senior and Dante's a junior. Yes. So we'll see what it looks like. The Terrapins in the first half, like particularly the last 3 games I have seen, like they can't seem to get it going in the first half. Like it's interesting statistic. Like 6 of the 8 games we're trailing, and I feel like this is a good opportunity to switch that and really be aggressive. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. I apologize. That was my alarm. I need to see what that looks like. Maryland's bench definitely stepped up against Richmond. I want to see what they look like. Ian Martinez, Xavier Green. Who else am I missing? Simeon Wright, I think that's his name. Like, that bench has got to get going. I'm just mad. Not mad. I'm frustrated because he's doing it's the way he left. If he did this after the season, it's fine because he signed in May. He had a 4-year, 5-year extension. But I'm trying to figure out after we're not even 1/3 of the way into the season. And you're just going like, I'm done. Now, he pretty much said he felt like it had to do with at Maryland. He said he did not like the fact that the fans were booing him at home games. He really was like, I cannot deal. I'm paraphrasing. He said, I don't like the fact that we're getting booed at home. He's like, why should I can't even recruit guys. Or he said, I can't recruit or coach people in that kind of environment. And that says a lot too. About the fan base, but again, when you're not exceeding expectations, and I told you, today's sports fans, they're very finicky. If you're not like the Golden State Warriors, for example, or if you're not like UConn or Alabama, they're quick to hop off the bandwagon. But I get it. In the 10 seasons, we only gotten the one Sweet 16 appearance. But I think a lot of that, I just don't like the fact that he made that decision Friday. I don't like that. I wish him all nothing but the best in future endeavors, but that really leaves a bad taste in Maryland Terrapins. As a Maryland Terrapin fan, a bad taste in your mouth. It really does. And again, it goes back to what I was saying. It's not like he pulled a Lincoln Riley or a Brian Kelly. It just let me talk about the women's basketball. So we beat Miami Friday. I think that score was close too. This is another thing. Big Ten ACC challenge, number 8 merit. We were now ranked number 8. After the first ranking. Again, we're starting to get some of the girls back. Again, we we only had really six healthy key players, 6 starters. We were in the Bahamas, and the Hurricanes and the Terps were going back and forth. The last 2 minutes of the game was the key. Angel Reese looked good out there. Katie Benzan also too. She's coming off an injury as well. The final score is 82-74. But last year, was the best 3-point shooter in the league. But again, she's missed last 3 games because she's been sick. Diamond Miller is still injured. She's with an knee injury. Masonius, she's back. She's missed 5 games due to an illness as well. So I think to not take that into consideration when you're doing the rankings, but I get it. I definitely think a couple things too. Miami definitely made it tough for the girls to win the game. I know Ashley Wansu, there was a couple times where she got clamped up. I think her name was Jalea Williams, picked her up 94 feet. But it was like there really wasn't. It wasn't like again until those last 2 minutes. Like it was just a really close basketball game. Miami made 5 straight buckets, and at one point, but again, I think it says a lot of just the discipline and the confidence that Brenda Freeze gives these girls. And Angel Reese finished the game with 26 and 15. Going on now 7-2. And like I said, when we were in the Bahamas, we only had 7 healthy girls. 7. Like that was like I'm talking like that's a very short rotation. So now that we're getting Emma Charlton back, I think would have been a big help. Tasia Kosolov, I think that's her name, also is back. And then obviously Masonius and Benzan, they're coming off as well. So I think depth-wise, I think it's better. Now, also too, from the perimeter, Maryland had no answers for Miami. Miami, I think, was 8 of 15 from 3, if I remember correctly. And then also too, Miami was not going away. The turnovers still we only turned the ball over 10 times in the first half of the game. But I've noticed the tempo is something that we still have to work on, but it didn't last that long in the game. So I think that'll come better with time. And as we get ready to play Rutgers, again, we got some much needed help. Now, we play the Scarlet Knights. It's a 28-12 series. Last time we saw it, actually we were supposed to play them back in January, but that got canceled. Can't remember what happened. Vivian Stringer, she's the coach. She's been battling. She's with COVID issues. So I hope she's doing all right. I know people have been calling for her to retire. I think that's kind of wrong. But she's been with Rutgers 26 years. She was there for a hot minute. They're already, and they're not looking actually that well neither. I looked at some of their games. They lost to Stony Brook on the 16th. They've also lost 4 games in a row. They were actually in the Virgin Islands. Lost to Pittsburgh 58 to 50. This year they only have one starter from the tournament. When they went to the tournament last year, which is a shock. Only one person came back. Biggest things, a couple things that I've noticed. I looked at the Scarlet Knights roster and the statistics. They're actually really good at when it comes to protecting the rim. They're 34th. We have someone here named, I believe her name is, I can't remember for her first name. You got Singleton. She's averaging a block and a half a game. And Angel Reese may have to change up her shot. She may have to get Singleton in foul trouble. She might have to take her away from the basket, post up, pick and roll, high post, mid range, something like that. Turnovers. That is a biggest weakness I've seen for Rutgers. They really turned the ball over. This year, this was the year. I think they have 7 transfers and 1 freshman, and it's the one that came back from last year. She was redshirted, Taya Singleton. That's who it is. She's averaging 1.4 blocks a game. Taya Singleton. They're not looking real. This is kind of a weird matchup. I don't know really what to expect with that, but I believe Mimi Collins. She has been struggling a little bit. She's averaged 12, rounded up 12 points a game. I will say that. The last couple games, I did the math. It's 6 to 23. I definitely think she'll break out her slump. I think it's part of the game. We all go through it. As I stated, against Miami, we turned the ball over 16 times against Miami. We got to cut down the turnovers. I think that's the key. Ashley Owansu, she is our point. She's our point guard. She's our floor general. She has to set the tone of not taking any. She didn't commit a turnover in that game, but she has to get the girls in line, get them good shots, be smart with the ball, and not rush. I think that's the key. If Maryland does that, I think we are sweeter than iced tea. Okay? Offensively, our shooters. Now, I still think because Katie's still coming off and she's still kind of figuring things out. And things also she's been sick too. I definitely think I think offensively, I think her, Mimi, they will get it together. With that being said, the Maryland Lady Terps, they will beat Rutgers 85-54.
Guaranteed.
Really quick, let me give a shout out to my Towson Tigers, men and women. We beat the men beat the Long Island University Sharks 72-63. We play Kent State Monday at home, away. We'll go to Ohio. That's going to be on ESPN3. That actually should be a good game. I need to catch that. The Lady Tigers beat the East Carolina Pirates 66-51. That was on ESPN Plus. I don't understand why all these games are on Flow Hoops. It was a couple games for the women on ESPN Plus. Princeton, and American University. Next game for Lady Terps, they play the University of Massachusetts at Lowell. I'm trying to see what this mascot is. The Hawks. So that should be an interesting game. We're 7-1 on the year. We're on a 4-game win streak. Congratulations, ladies. The men are now 5-3 on a 2-game win streak. Okay, so far so pretty good. So far so good. Keep up the good work. Go Tigers. Around the WNBA. So the draft lottery will take place on December 19th, 3 p.m. It's going to be broadcasted between Baylor and Michigan, and Louisville and Connecticut. The Indiana Fever, Atlanta Dream, Mystics, and Dallas Wings. That pick was from the Los Angeles Sparks. We are in the lottery. And the Indiana Fever will have most chances to land the third pick. Atlanta, Washington. I really think this is just. I'm gonna go off like this. I think the Dallas Wings, Washington Mystics, Atlanta Dream, Indiana Fever. That'll be your that's going to be your lottery. That's how it's going to be for the first, second, third, and fourth picks in the draft.
Guaranteed.
But something tells me that Coach T is going to find a way to use that pick. I stand by my comments. We need to rebuild the Mystics. I stand by those comments. I just don't think the way that the team that is present, the way it's in right now, we're not a playoff team. We're not a championship team. That's a fact. I'm sorry. And I stand by those comments. So that's how I've envisioned the lottery. The Dallas Wings with the number 1 overall pick, Mystics, the Dream, and the Fever. So we'll see about that. The WNBA got highest remarks for racial and gender hiring practices. Good job. Good job, ladies. The only thing that was close to that was the NBA, obviously the Big Brother, and the MLS, Major League Soccer. Look, times are changing. We got to, we got to do the right thing with stuff like that. I think that's really good, and we got to continue to call out behavior that we know is not right, and different things like that. I think that all matters. So, congratulations, ladies! Keep up the good work for what you're doing for the league and for the communities. Last topic, because it's 4:00 in the morning where I'm at, and I need to get some sleep. I want to revisit this. I talked about it last episode with Candace Parker about her stance or where she feels about Coach Gino, who's part of Team USA. She made it vehemently clear that they don't like each other. Somebody on Twitter tried to create a storyline and saying that they reached out to a spokesperson. Does he have any comments? And obviously, the response was no, he doesn't have any comments to it. And Candace Parker responded to it. This is what she said on Twitter. I'll share the tweet so you can see it. Give me a second. I was asked about my relationship with Gino directly, so I responded, don't make this the more it already is. This happens all the time in men's sports, but I'm not going to lie. No, she doesn't. She was telling the truth. She has a right to feel what she says. I definitely do think that from the standpoint that there is some bias there. She did have a great point when she was at Tennessee. They weren't winning. You know, I definitely believe she should have made that 2016 squad, but I think a lot of it had to do with politics. I definitely do think that there was some type of bitterness on there. But I know I had this debate with somebody in the comments. So I made that video on NECA, Gumikin, her not making the team. A coach is going to pick the players he knows that he or she knows. But at the same time, when are you going to give others the opportunity? You know, I definitely think that it definitely does say a lot, because going forward, you definitely do have to question, well, why did she not make that team? Well, he doesn't care. I mean, he's gotten gold medals without Candace. He's been winning without Candace Parker, and I mean, he's gonna look at it like too. Like I've gotten medals without her, so we're both even. But it's kind of crazy. It really is. The kind of last topic of the night. Deion Sanders had invited Brittany Renner to. I'm not going to play the clip. It's invited her to speak to the Jackson State. Congratulations to Jackson State for winning the championship, much deserved. Invited her to speak to the guys about life decisions, particularly when it comes to dating women like her. Let me be careful. On this side, he's trying to educate these guys of focus on the task at hand. You're young. You have the world. You have enjoy life. You want to be you trying to get in the NFL. Make money. The window to make this money is short. Build your empire, and the rest will come. It'll build. You've got your whole life to settle down and start having babies. On this other hand, he's showing an example of, you see what happens when this is what's going to happen if you go down this road. Example, PJ Washington. Like, we really had people really applauding that behavior. If gender roles were reversed, it'd be outrage. Like, to me, to have her as a motive, like to basically come to that school and speak to them, I didn't like it. I understood. I got his point, but Kobe Bryant, I forgot who Kobe Bryant he spoke with. I just think that, that old saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make the horse drink it. You can tell these guys how to live, that the decisions they need to make and be smart with it. But at the end of the day, it's what they do. You just hope that these guys make the right decisions. Educating, what he's doing, he's looking out for their best intentions. He wants them to be successful and not be in a situation like PJ Washington, where he's got to pay $43 million for the next 18 years. So I don't really know how to feel about that, but that was really, really weird. And on top of that, we already know. That's okay. I'm gonna leave it at that. I've said too much. So with that being said, that's going to conclude season 4 of the podcast. Again, thank you all for the continued support that you've given me in this channel. It is my birthday today. I thank God for another year. This year, last year, just the pandemic, I really had not really had time to really sit and reflect on life because, just the world just moves so fast. And I can't wait to see what God has in store for me going forward. I'm going to enjoy these games. Maryland, the Ravens, Washington. I'm going to enjoy these games. It's going to be a great birthday. Season 5 will start Tuesday. I'm going to try to get the intro in there, hopefully, crossing fingers, before Tuesday. I know some people are like, can you please take that Charles Barkley thing out? And I will say after enough 4 seasons, it's starting to get kind of stale. But you'll see something better. But with that being said, I'm going to go to bed and I'm going to enjoy my birthday. With that being said, this is a wrap for season 4. I'll see y'all in season 5. Stay up.
First of all, listen, it's interesting about all these young guys today. They never call on us and say, hey, thanks for the kind word and telling me how great a player I am. But when they play like crap and we call them out, we don't know what we're talking about. Listen, I'm easy to find. But listen, I'm going to criticize guys that they deserve it. And listen, they can kiss my ass if they don't like it.